Pod Candy!
A podcast about cults, crimes, and killers.
Can I say to the listeners that, today I'm saying this at the end, but maybe put it in the beginning, that today we're talking about sex, drugs, and no rock and roll. And
Right.
Listener discretion is advised.
Yes, exactly.
Listener discretion is advised. Talking about some heavy stuff. Today on Pod Candy, we're talking about the HBO Max documentary, Murder in Glitterball City. This story takes us to Louisville, Kentucky, into a nightlife scene filled with glamour, excess, and some very eccentric personalities.
At the center of it are two men, Joey Banis and Jeff Munt. Their lives were flashy, chaotic, and deeply embedded in Louisville's LGBTQ plus nightlife world.
What started as a story about friendship, partying, and an unconventional lifestyle eventually spiraled into something far darker, a murder that shocked the community.
And the trial that followed pulled back the curtain on a world of drugs, secrets, and a relationship that many people described as intense, volatile, and strange.
This documentary doesn't just look at the crime itself. It looks at the culture surrounding it, the nightlife, the personalities, and the choices that led two eccentric figures into the center of a very public case.
Today, we're unpacking the murder, the investigation, and the trial that forced Louisville to confront a story that felt almost unbelievable.
This is Pod Candy, and today we're talking about Murder in Glitterball City.
Outside my window, it's only raining. When the wind blows, I feel pain. I don't need no doctor, baby, I'm not sick. My body's been locked up, heartbroken ever since.
I don't think I've ever been to Kentucky, Stacey.
Neither have I.
So
my friend is from Louisville.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I did some staffing work for Louisville for some accounting and finance, but not in Louisville, but I considered people in that area. But part of this documentary, the reason why I brought that up is they really go through some history and some architecture of Louisville. And it reminded me a little bit of like Nolans, with that, right? With like
Yes.
the creepy ghosts and ghosts in the, and it just seemed like a place that I may want to visit one day. Like I never thought I'd want to go to Kentucky, but I'm like, Louisville.
Looks great. And, there's a big Jewish population there. So you and I could go. But Dr. John, not sure. I'm just kidding.
We'll bring the bagels.
We'll bring the bagels and schmear. I thought it was interesting. Now, I'm excited to hear what Dr. John thought. Dori, did you think that the documentary was a little disjointed with all of like the book that was being read, the history?
Yes.
These two guys, the other guy, Jamie, not Jamie. Yeah, Jamie.
100%. So the beginning, I was very bored in the beginning because as much as I enjoyed like the history and looking around, I'm like, when does the good part start? And like you said, it was like an interwoven story. So you had kind of a narrator of the author wrote a book about this. So there's the reading of that. And then also when I watch these documentaries, I really want to just get to the guts and glory of it, right?
Yes, so do I. Yes. And I was like, where? Because we first started off with a shot of Joey Banis making a video.
This is to any concerned persons regarding my death. My name is Joseph Richard Banis, mostly known as Joey. I'm recording my death for the purpose of informing all informed or all concerned of my own willful suicide and the complete non-involvement or culpability of anyone else. Specifically of my boyfriend, lover, life partner, and friend, my one, Jeffrey Stephen Munt. You'll notice that he is sitting or lying on the bed near me. It is only because I have a gun pointed at him. The gun is right here, and he is right there. I'm holding him hostage because I have failed him and hurt him and done terrible things which I can never recover from. This includes killing someone who someone.
At that point, we don't know why or what's motivating the video where he's saying that he has a gun and he's going to do, then they should exonerate Jeffrey Munt, his lover, of anything. And then he says, I have a gun. And then the camera pans over to him. He's lying in bed. He doesn't even look like he's upset about it. And then it goes back to him. And then we cut into all this history in this book. Who wrote that book?
I have no idea.
To be honest, I didn't know.
To be honest, I don't care. To be honest,
I don't either. But I thought, am I missing something? I hope I don't get on there and look like a total idiot. But I kept trying to think, and I kept rewinding and going, okay, this isn't, and the ghost stories and stuff, but they didn't tie. So they said that the town was haunted and there were a lot of these homes, these big Victorian homes that they were going to convert to a bed and breakfast, Joey and Jeff. It was Jeff's place. Jeff was the professional, I guess. But Joey came from a very good family. His father was a doctor. Hope I'm sick. I've watched so many documentaries.
I know. His father what if his father was Dr. John Mayer?
Oh my God, Dr. John Mayer. But I kept thinking, why these two guys, they got wrapped up in each other, and then all this stuff ensued, and then this lover that they Joey brought in, it was Joey's friend, Jamie Carroll, brought him into as a throuple, I guess. They had some threesomes. And then Jamie was killed and put into a giant Rubbermaid container and buried in the basement.
Right. So who did it, right? So was it Jeff? Was
Jeff?
It Joey? And also the fact that the three main players of this all have J names. For somebody who comes from a long line of dementia, let me tell you, it's hard for me to keep these people straight.
Well, that's why I wrote their names down, and I keep looking over here because I want to make sure I don't confuse the three names: Jeff, Joey, and Jamie.
Right? So Jeff and Joey were a couple, and they were heavily into party drugs and having sex with like a third. And then this Jamie Carroll was a person who he was a hairdresser who also did drag, right? And well known in the community, but also, as we find out, he's also a drug dealer as well.
But not a very good one, they said, like a very low level drug dealer.
Right. I wonder if I were a drug, like if I would be offended if somebody said Dori Goldman is a bad drug dealer. Like
I think you would be offended. I would be offended. I want to be good at everything. I don't know if
I would, or I mean, like I guess, like what would that entail? That I'm so bad, like I do my own drugs. I'm so bad, like I don't, like I don't get a good profit. Is it because like what I guess I'm just thinking what entails a bad drug dealer? But anyway, I digress.
Yeah, you digress. Maybe it's bad crack. They were doing meth
Right. And meth, as I'm told, is extremely addictive. But like you said, Jeff Munt is the quote unquote, upstanding worker. Like he's the one who actually held down a regular 9 to 5 in corporations and universities. He also has a Chicago connection as well. He spent some time in our fair city in Evanston and then in Chicago as well. And then Joey was kind of that like punk rock kind of drug guy. So when murder takes place, everybody thinks, oh, it's probably Joey who is going to be the one who master manipulated murder or who did the actual murder. But as this documentary goes through, I mean, to me, there is no question about it that Jeff Munt absolutely did it and then masterminded the cover-up.
1,000%. And that's the next thing I was going to say to you. So Joey's in prison. Jeffrey is out of prison. He was only in prison wasn't he not in prison? No, he didn't go to prison.
No, he's never
No, he's off the grid. They can't find him. Joey's in prison. And I believe that Joey is innocent. And I believe that Jeff is responsible. And I don't think that Jeff was being manipulated in any capacity. I think Joey was. That's my thought from what I deduced from the documentary. And you obviously agree.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. So I agree about the murder part of it. I think they both should be in prison. I think Jeff Munt absolutely should be in prison.
Well, why isn't he in prison for being there?
What they did cover. So, right. So like there's murder, but there's also the fact that they had that body in the plastic bin in their basement for over 6 months. So that's also a like collusion thing too. So they both had like high powered attorneys that, as I've said before, I'm not that much into the attorneys that talk a lot on these documentaries. I kind of was into these guys. I felt like, honestly, if I were a bad drug dealer, as I think we've already assumed that I am a bad drug dealer, that I would want like those guys, either team, as my defense attorneys.
Yeah, they were great.
All four were great.
Yeah, they were great. And I like the woman too. I wasn't sure what we got out of the interviews of people that were friends.
The prosecutor woman. That what you're saying, the prosecutor woman?
Yes, I liked her. I don't know what we got out of, just hearing about people that knew Jeff, people that knew Joey. I mean, it didn't, what we saw of them and what we heard on the video, which those tapes were pretty, those were brutal. And it was brutal that the court had to listen to their sex.
There was so much sex. There was so many drugs. Talk about heated rivalry in Louisville.
Yeah,
that would be
heated
like
rivalry.
It would be like a heated among I don't know, like
among untalented people. I mean, these guys have no talent. At least in heated rivalry. Just kidding.
Right. It's like a fan fiction.
It's like a fan fiction.
But they really did go into detail, though. The documentary really, like, I really felt that, like, almost, so every day of their life, I do feel was filled with sex and drugs, but also Jeff Munt loved his cats. And as an animal lover myself, when they were saying, oh, how could you be more concerned with your cats as opposed to that Jamie Carroll being dead? I'm going to say, I'm going to give one to Jeff Munt. I would be the same. I'd be 100 times more.
Obviously has a little bit of a heart. And I want to add one more thing. And you kept going, but my cats. And they were like, fuck your cats.
Never fuck anybody. The cats are great.
Cats are great. We love cats, especially the musical.
Based off of what Joey was telling us, we went to the house on 4th Street. I remember sitting on the stairs with Jeffrey, kind of talking to him. Something wasn't matching up on, when I was talking with him, just something wasn't there. And I couldn't put my finger on it. And at some point I was like, hey, can we go down to the station, just you and I, to go down and talk, and that way we can get this on record. So he agreed to go down to the station with me.
Will I be able to get my stuff and feed the cats?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We'll get all that stuff taken care of.
And I'm sorry for them being so freaked out about the cats.
No,
They've
man,
been through a lot.
it's your animals, and no, I do the same thing for my pets.
We developed a very good rapport when we were talking there, like initially. Like we talked about his past, talked about his parents, his cats.
After being beaten up, I was so scared for my life, me and my family and my damn cats.
He had me convinced that he was a victim of the domestic violence, that he was in an abusive relationship.
You're not going to have to live in fear anymore.
While I was talking with Jeffrey, the rest of the guys and John were conducting a search of the residence, to include the basement.
Joseph Banis described to us where the body was and had actually made us a map of the downstairs basement.
Let's talk about the basement. What was stored down there?
Garbage. I mean, it's from the prior owner of the house.
You sit right in the middle of the room. Is that loose dirt right there?
We begin digging in the area where Mr. Banis had told us the ground was disturbed.
They literally had to dig with shovels in this basement. It wasn't something that they could just kind of scrape off a little bit of dirt and pop open a trunk. It was a hole dug 6 to 8 feet deep. I mean, it was a deep hole. Oh!
When you've been in homicide for a little while, you know the smell of death. And in that time, we smelled death.
Joey's ex-boyfriend, Kevin? Yeah, he's not sane either. I mean, Joey's obviously really mentally, really disturbed in many ways. I don't want to diagnose him, but he's obviously got some issues. So obviously that was the case. But it's so funny. They had those side-by-side interviews with both guys telling the same story about the other one. Wasn't that crazy?
So,
the interrogation?
So Kevin was right. So because I'm going to be honest, I watched this a little while ago and I've forgotten some things. So Kevin was the initial boyfriend, like when they were teens,
of Joey.
Yes. And then did they have a Jeff Munt boyfriend? Talk about Jeff?
I don't think we did. We didn't have a Jeff Munt boyfriend.
Oh, but they had the women at the end.
Those women that were friends with him, those two dumpy women.
And then he dropped them. Right. So remind me about Kevin talking about Joey. He talked about them meeting back in the day, doing drugs back in the day.
Yes, and he said, I'm going to tell you this. I don't really feel sorry for him. That was like the last thing he said. He's like, I'm not going to tell you he's a great person. He didn't. And John maybe will correct us, because those details. But I know that Kevin did not paint him in a good light at the end of it. He's like, you know what? I don't give a shit.
But also too, yes, he may be a bad person, but did he actually commit this murder? Like that's the thing. Even though somebody can be a bad person, that doesn't mean that they should be wrongfully convicted.
I agree. And just because he pulled a piece of glass on him and cut him doesn't mean that he would kill somebody either.
To Kevin.
Yeah,
right?
to Kevin. Right. Because we saw that he had a propensity for violence, obviously. But I still believe, and I actually felt this when I saw Jeff Munt talk. He was so calm, cool, and collected, and very disconnected and professional about everything. And I was like, this guy's guilty. And the other guy's just like a real person. I'm not saying he's a good person, but it just was so alarmingly obvious.
Here's a question I have. Would Jeff seems psychotic, right? But
yes.
Would Jeff have ever murdered anybody had he not met Joey?
Maybe
And-
not. Maybe he was jealous of Joey's relationship with Jamie.
I mean, when Jeff was looking for dudes, he did write in his profile that he likes to be peed on, that he likes bondage, that he likes drugs. Like,
they didn't admit that. He's like, it means that I like being urinated on. It's just like,
yeah, water.
It's a lot of water
college.
sport.
We got a pamphlet in college that said internal and external water sports. So external is peeing on somebody, and internal is peeing in an orifice. Unbelievable. Anyway,
I'm going to show you profile.
It appears to be a profile of me from a website.
All right, under turn-ons, you've got the rubber, PVC, leather, bondage, all types, restraints, cuffs, collars, hoods, gags, etc.
And that's when a lot of us kind of learned a lot of new words.
PNP.
Refers to drug use, particularly methamphetamines. Party and play is PNP.
What's WS?
Water sports. Primarily, I guess, gay term for urine.
Ass play and sensory deprivation.
What does CBT mean?
Cock and ball torture. It means I like having my penis and my testicles played with hard.
Gingering, right? Gingering? A ginger root in the anus? Is that right?
I went to places that I have never gone to before and do not plan to go back to ever again.
It was definitely kink shaming. 100% kink shaming.
You can call it whatever you want, but as a defense attorney, are we supposed to just sit back and completely ignore this completely separate lifestyle that's not being presented to this jury? What's this next one? What is mummification?
We're like, what is mummification? And he basically liked to be almost, clad completely in leather or something else and almost be the air cut off.
I like having people hold my head, put a hood over my head, and smother me.
but I do wonder, because Jeff obviously loved himself some drugs, and now he's with Joey, who can, provide him with a lot of drugs all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But would Jeff have murdered if it wasn't for Joey? I don't know. I think this is a good question for the doctor.
I do too. Are we ready?
Yeah, not the doctor that was in the documentary, but let's talk to our doctor. Dr. John, are you still in the green room, or
I see one
toe out? I see one little foot out.
Oh.
I was so captivated by your discussion that I was mesmerized, and I lost track of being invited. So thank you for opening the door.
We weren't going to invite you to this one, John.
No.
And coincidentally, you guys mentioned bagels, and I just finished what was in the green room was a bagel this week, and not a chocolate chip cookie. So well done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we thought we'd change it up a little for you. Give
Nice,
you a taste of our roots.
Well, very good. Wow, there's a lot of questions. And what a doozy of a documentary that you guys picked. I'm trying not to say you guys. You both picked. Jeremy, cut out the guys and just say
you gals. How about you gals?
Oh, we're not offended.
I think that demeans you as well. How about you both?
You both.
My team members. My team members.
Yes.
But wow, what a doozy. Our word, audience, we coined it. What a doozy of a situation here, and there's so much to talk about. But I always like to start by talking about the documentary itself. It was well produced, and it was kind of nice to look at. But I agree with you both; it was so disjointed, and you both didn't talk about this whole link with the supernatural. They made a big deal about it at one point, how this neighborhood has all these supernatural and ghost-like links. And
I
then,
hate ghosts. I hate ghosts. All right, I'm muting myself.
well, don't ever walk into a dark room. Just there's the answer right there. Uh, but then it wasn't really woven into the fabric of the documentary. But then at the end, they had a psychic, almost hinting like there was some kind of supernatural element to this whole killing because this whole neighborhood is filled with, these deaths and creepy stuff. So the documentary was very disjointed, and
Yes,
I think,
I think we all like the content of it. Like,
yes.
I like the content.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
I like the story, but like you're saying, I thought that was bullshit, John. Like, I thought that weaving that in, to be honest, if I were to ever have to rewatch it, I would fast forward through all of that.
Yeah, and I
part.
have to tell you, Dori, you and I could have acted better than those. They put people that aren't really actors, or are they amateurs? Like they were like, "Ooh, we're scary ghosts, and we are here to," that ghost. I want to get into this with you guys about ghosts because I'm not a subscriber to them. I don't believe in ghosts, and I also think I like the idea of there's like a fun sort of like thing about the town that gives it character, like sort of like Salem, Massachusetts, but it didn't really go into the tie-in of the murder. It didn't go into the ghost in that house or any of that stuff.
It didn't have any relevance to the storytelling. We're all of us are writers. I write screenplays and have written novels and such. And I would have gotten shot down by any producer or publishing house if I wrote a story that had this link and didn't go anywhere. So yeah, audience, just you could fast forward any of those parts. They were colorful in terms of like what Stacey was saying about the neighborhood. An interesting neighborhood. I agree with Dori.
Stuff that I love.
Wow.
That's the stuff that I love. I did like looking at the houses, but again, all that other stuff with the ghosts, that stuff. But yeah. I did like a little bit of background of the neighborhood, but then drop it and just go with the story.
And the other thing I didn't get much out of, and I agree with both of you as well, is these interviews with the friends. I don't think they added anything to the story. They could have spent more time or less time. There are 2 over 1 hour episodes, so you're committing 2 hours and 15 minutes to this story, and they could have taken those friends out. They really didn't add anything at all. I think they were trying to, in a sense, I think the motive of the producer, the director and producers were to add, background information on these characters, but it didn't, which kind of takes away our job. Our job is to kind of go deeper and tell you a little more about what the whys and hows and wheres of why these things happen.
Don't you think that if we had more information about these 2 guys and it was really focused on these 2 guys, not about Jamie, like a little bit about Jamie and who he was, because he's worth something. He's a person. He was tragically murdered by somebody. But I don't feel like either guys, even though I have a vibe, and so does Dori, about Jeff being the one, just allegedly, I don't feel like we had enough to go on.
No,
for
exactly.
either of them to make a determination. What was the determination made by the court to make Jeff not guilty?
Well, they slipped in something I thought was very important, and it was very quickly slipped in. Jeff made a deal with the prosecutors so that he would testify against Joey. And it was very quick. I thought they should have accentuated that and made a big deal about it. So I think that's one reason he got off. And then the other thing it was a little more information on this, but still kind of quick, when the female prosecutor said, we decided to go with Joey first, in terms of who we are going to prosecute first. So that gave Jeffrey a hook out of the more serious accusations or indictment that they could have done. So that was a deal made.
And was it because just by Joey's outward look, by Joey's history of drugs, you would
And he had
assume,
a record,
and that
you
makes
know?
an ass out of you and all of us, but you would assume that he was the one. So that's why they were smart by doing that.
We had 2 separate trials, and I felt like it would be more likely that I would be able to be successful at the first trial against Joey Banas. He had a criminal history in a different way than Jeffrey Munt obviously did. There were all those pictures of Joey Banas with guns.
Unfortunately, we judge people sometimes by just what they look like. We can judge people just on a photograph. We have all seen the infamous photograph of Joey with the mohawk, looking like if you had his picture up next to Mr. Munt's famous photograph, which looks like an IT executive, which of these two would stab somebody and bury him in the basement?
That was stated. The prosecutor stated, and for our audience sake, if they don't want to watch these 2 episodes, Joey had a punk look to him. He had spiked hair often. He was totally tatted up on his body. I think he even had some piercings. He made himself into a bizarre looking character, but that was part of his.
Kind of hot. I'm not going to say bizarre at all. I like that look. I like the kind of look. But I get it. Like Jeff is a straight-laced dude, like from the outside, but he's very kinky and weird, obviously.
He's
but
kinky
that's
and weird.
Why Joey wore it on the outside. Like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know these guys. They're both like crappy dudes in my book because they were a part of a murder. But to me, Jeff is, you look at people who you're like, but he's so straight-laced. No, this guy was kinkier than both of them combined.
He likes rough sex. He said it in court. He's like, I like rough sex.
Well, let's be even more graphic for our audience. At one point, remember when he said, I like my penis and he almost said balls, but then he switched real quick to say, and testicles. I like them kind of beaten and roughed up. It was like,
Dr. John,
bizarre.
do you? I mean, let's confess. Do you like your penis and your balls roughed up? Because I know a guy. I don't know where
at my
he
own
is.
hand.
You know a guy?
I know a guy. I don't know where he is right now. I believe he's in hiding, but his initials are JM.
I mean, don't you think that's a sign of something? And like, again, I'm not judging people's sexual act. Doesn't mean they have past trauma or they've been abused or any of that. But where does that come from?
Well, I've struggled with this in my career, and I've treated countless numbers of individuals like Joey and Jeff, who are gay and into this kink world and etc. And I'll be honest with you both. At first, being a very straight-laced, what is the term for somebody who a vanilla person when it comes to sex? At first, I thought, oh, this is weird, and abnormal. But the more I studied it, especially with the science in my field, etc., it's like I've come to accept that your sexual practices and your sexual proclivities are yours, and as long as you don't hurt the other person or hurt anybody, I have no judgment on what you're into. Even this Jeffrey with I like my penis and my testicles roughed up. That's your own business. But when it comes to hurting someone, which is the focus of this documentary, how someone got killed, that's a whole different thing. But
yeah, now I'm seeing this in a different light. Like, your what you do between two people is your own personal business, and as long as it's not hurting anybody, it doesn't matter what you're doing.
Yeah, but it's
and that you're right.
In the drugs, but it's also
the drugs
bringing
were
in
so intense.
The drugs that heighten all of this. It's not about the sex. Like, yeah, they're kinky MFers. Like, good for them. It is the drugs that added.
Dori, I don't know where
1,000%.
I don't know where you got your medical degree from. It could have been from a Cracker Jack box, but you're right on. This is a big point I want to make in this episode to our audience, to ourselves. A key element for all this extreme sexuality and the killing is the excessive drug use and the meth use. Two drugs that directly affect the pleasure center of our brain. And for the audience, I'm pointing right to where it is for my team members here. It's right here.
He's pointing to his balls. Just kidding, everybody. Just kidding.
No, that's every man. Every man's brain is in the between their legs. Meth and cocaine directly affect the pleasure center of our brain. What does that mean? First of all, it means you cannot get enough. A little is never enough, and you keep increasing. And coordinated with that is it affects your sexuality and your sexual appetite and your sexual desires. And that's been not only an experience I've had treating people who are addicted to these chemicals, but we have scientific studies that show it just progresses in terms of the excess. So if you start with vanilla sex, it's like everything becomes extreme, more. And two things that I've seen in patients that I've dealt with meth and cocaine is it always results in crossing genders. That straight-laced men who use cocaine and they use it regularly and a lot, etc., start to go into homosexual sex and threesomes, and we're seeing that in this case here. The other thing to know about, in particular, meth, as opposed to cocaine, meth has a shorter, what we call a half-life than cocaine. And this wasn't brought out in the documentary. Sadly, it should have been. But one of the difficulties with a person hooked on meth is that what the importance is of short half-life is that the high effect goes away quickly. You need more. And the people addicted to meth, and I've had, again, countless number of cases like this, it's like their whole life becomes chasing the drug. How am I going to get more? When can I get more? What's my sources? Which is why they brought Jamie Carroll, who was the victim. They brought him in because he was the source of meth.
Yeah. Didn't they say though too that Joey could handle? They said in the documentary Joey could handle the meth, and Jeff. Like just your whole description, which is like really great. Like I didn't know. I to be honest, I'm a very clean teen. I don't do any drugs. So, but they had mentioned that Joey could handle it. I don't really know what that means, to be honest, but that Jeff became a completely different person.
The interesting thing, how does this rise? Are these guys, mentally ill that brought them to all this? And I have to say, one of the things we face with individuals like this is, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Were they mentally ill before they got so heavily into drugs? Or is it the drugs that make them so mentally ill? And that's always what we call differential diagnosis as to, what came first. It almost doesn't matter, but
right. I feel that it was the drugs in this case. I mean, that's just my opinion.
It enhances something that may have been dormant in your psychology.
Yes, it can bring out depression. It can bring out anxiety. It can bring out murder, I guess. Drugs affect everybody differently. Now, I'm not a big drug user, or I never was. But drugs affect, some people cannot smoke pot because it makes them crazy. Some people have no effect. So, and meth, makes you deteriorate. You see people before meth and at the end of their journey with meth. Why does that happen?
Because
teeth,
there's a couple
everything.
things. Yeah. Well, it almost sounds like it's a duh comment, but it's a powerful drug. And the decay of teeth is very common. We call it meth teeth. You can almost spot somebody that has been using meth for a long time because their teeth get all rotted. And I had a case just recently where a young man, I think he's 20, 21, he literally had to have all his teeth pulled out because they were so rotted because of meth.
How long had he been addicted, John? How long?
Not that long. I mean, just maybe about 2-3 years.
Oh, and he had to
started when he was about 17.
All of his teeth
every single one.
Holy moly! Holy molar!
Don't do drugs, people. Don't do drugs, listeners. Nancy Reagan. Nancy Reagan.
Say no to drugs. You know Breaking Bad. We watch. I don't know if you guys watched Breaking Bad.
I did. Yeah.
Did you,
Loved
Dor?
Great
show. Great acting.
Yeah.
You got to see, the effect of meth, but I've, personally known a couple people who have been addicted to meth, and it's probably one of the saddest things to see, because you see this person who was once a dancer and talented and bright, and then they just look sucked out and yellow and just deteriorated.
It doesn't matter what remember how I talked I think in the last episode about having the table set when we talked about postpartum, etc. With cocaine and meth, it doesn't matter how the table was set. You can be an absolutely rock solid, strong, mentally ill individual, and literally those drugs will affect that part of the brain that'll distort you. So it doesn't matter if they were disturbed prior to getting so deeply into drugs. It's going to turn that knob in the opposite direction and you're gone. I think a great example of that, it was right in the documentary, even though we didn't like these parts. Do you remember the one friend they interviewed who was real skinny and
Yes, I do. In
and
his
it
house.
almost looked like he had dentures put
The
in.
young guy
Yes.
who was kind of like Joey's.
Yes.
Yeah, and he could have been a victim.
boyfriend. He was brought in for the threesome. He was one of the ones brought
Yes.
in as a third. Yeah.
And I suspect that those teeth, because they were perfectly straight and beautiful teeth, but he was a skinny, almost Auschwitz-looking kind of man. During the interview, they flashed an old picture of him as a teenager, and he was healthier looking, and he had more muscle and more weight on him, and that's typical of these meth people. Here's the thing with cocaine and meth. I was trying to say both at the same time. First of all, because of where they affect us in our brain, they also take your appetite away. So notoriously, people that are addicted to cocaine and meth are very emaciated individuals. You see that all the time.
Well, that's why cocaine was so big and maybe still in the fashion industry, all the models.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because they weren't eating.
Now we have GLP-1, everybody. You don't need cocaine or meth.
Right. You could just do a GLP-1.
Your girlish figure. What do you think of my question, John, about what can you pontificate? Do you think Jeff Munt would have ever, I know that's, we're just thinking about this, but do you think he had it in him to murder somebody, being that quote unquote straight-laced guy for so long, never got into trouble, then met Joey? What do you think about that? If he had never met Joey?
I say absolutely. Because again, it's this progression of crossing boundaries, and the drug makes you, more and more and more. Mm-hmm. And I think there was indications that he was absolutely fascinated by, killing someone during sex. They got into asphyxiation, and him and this, I don't want to keep repeating how he loved to have his penis.
You like repeating it.
Yeah.
I just remembered something. So okay, this is insane, but I lived above a guy who was a marathon runner and met another guy. This was maybe like 10 years ago. Met another guy like from an app, and the guy was into meth and turned the other guy onto drugs to the point where they were constantly, like, I lived above them. It was a miserable 2.5 years. I owned the place. I had to sell it. They were constantly fighting, constantly. You would find them naked in the common area downstairs, whipping each other. One of the guys would take a shit on the outside of the building or in a wheelbarrow in the laundry facility. This is a guy who was a financial guy, who was worked for like a reputable company, who within, so when you said that with that young guy that he got, it changes so quickly. Like with meth, I'm just remembering this guy that I knew, we had to take him to court. Like the guy went to court. He lost his place over meeting this guy and getting into drugs. Terrible.
That's probably what it was. It was meth.
Yes, sir. I want to tell you both. What you're saying, Dori, absolutely is like a profile of the cases that I've had where, and especially for, I haven't really thought about this, but the intellectual, intelligent, straight-laced individual that gets involved in this, that scenario you just painted happens all the time. I could take all of our time up telling you a couple of cases that I had that just follow that same pattern. It's just, it's, and again, a lot of it is just brain chemistry. It's like it is almost reads like a script when I see these patients, and it's sad. It's incredibly sad. I've had university professors who have lost their jobs and lost everything, including houses. And I said
he lost everything.
Yeah.
And they would have sex parties. Like this was a time in my life. It was miserable for me. Like and this would remind me of those guys in Louisville. Like this,
Can I say something, Dori?
I answered my own question with the killing. Would somebody do it? Yeah, they're on drugs and they go down that route.
Can I say something, Dori? You in many episodes have talked about different places you've lived. And I think before you change any apartment or condominium that you get, I think you should consult Stacey and I for some advice, because it doesn't sound like your choices are really.
I'm trying to find just a single family thing with a yard. That would be my next step.
I don't have the
money. Right. I have to live in condos, everybody. Multi-unit living blows. However, in my current situation, I made sure that it is like a fortress of sound. So
are you on a floor? Like what floor are you on?
I'm on a raised first floor.
Don't give out too much personal information here.
Here is my address, everybody. Here is my address, my social security number, my email. Please contact me and rip me off, everybody.
So, Dori, it's so interesting because, we've all had these types of situations with people living on the, but to be a witness, to see that, that's why it makes me very sad, because people just like Jeff and Joey's life was just all about drugs and sex. Like, what did they do? Did they ever have like normal days where they watch Netflix?
And can I get back at that? Because you both started your conversation by talking about the flashy lifestyle, or, was a lot of glamour and glitter. Thus the title of the episode. And it to me, I don't know what you both feel, but to me, it's not. I mean, it's depraved. It's, drug filled. It's, I think for some people it might look like the Kardashians or something like that, but it's creepy. I don't know if either one of you have ever kind of inadvertently walked into a Chicago club or venue, and that crowd is there, but it's sort of like it's dirty to me.
It's so not me. To be honest, I think that's why I personally have a fascination with like sex, drugs, rock and roll, like all of that, and documentaries, and because like you, John, like you said, you're like, like more straight laced. I am a straight laced gal.
I might be the least straight laced out of all three.
I think you are, Stacey. I think you're the Jeff Munt of all of us.
You're the Jeff Munt of you guys. You're Jamie and John is Joey. No,
you're the Joey. You're the Joey.
I'm Joey. So, I agree with you. When you're talking about this like underbelly of like regular, straight gay couples on this level, and then you have the the underground level of gay and straight people and drugs. And that level is awful. And I've never really seen it. I've just witnessed it on TV or things like that. But I just think that makes people possibly view homosexuals in a negative light, because these guys were two regular human beings. Do you know what I'm saying? So, but the way we see this is like, oh, gross, ew. You know what I mean? And it's like,
but like
you're
exactly. It really has nothing to do with sexuality.
To me, I know, but the world at large,
really isn't about that. It's about the drugs. It really
I know, but the world sees it differently, I think. But I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just assuming.
I want to pop in that. That's such an important point for our audience, because the prejudice against gay individuals is, so false and so wrong, and
yes,
they're all going to be pedophiles and go after my little preteen girl. They get a bad rep. But one thing to take away from some of that elements of that documentary we didn't like, when they were interviewing the neighborhood people, because this is a largely gay community. And how about those two older gentlemen that were some of the first settlers in that area? They're distinguished, seemed appropriate, just very likable gentlemen. And the neighbors in general, they all had their little quirks, except for those two guys. But they were, gay individuals that were, just
I like that
trying to live.
Settlers. I like that you called them settlers. Like they come off of the Mayflower
or the wagon, like a covered wagon.
There we go again, jumping on my
into Louisville from
they settled here and they wore hats. So yes, and I guess my point is that the view of homosexual people is sometimes looked at through the wrong kind of a lens.
Absolutely.
Because everybody is depraved. Every type of person can be depraved, drug addict, and all that. But when it looks like it's the gay community, it upsets me, because we shouldn't ever judge anybody for who they're with and why.
This is just a circumstantial documentary.
Documentary.
But again, to me, more, it is like a kinky lifestyle and all of that, which again, I am more straight-laced, but it's the depravity of the drugs. It's like the drugs made them. And that was like my whole thing that I'm still thinking, like, would these people have murdered? Had they not met each other? Like, who knows? Like, could my neighbors below me have murdered somebody? Yeah. Could my neighbors could I maybe, if I started, getting into like hard drugs? Like, I don't know, because I think you just lose all mindset when you're doing it. And like they did say too, that Jeff really, like I said this before, but that he became a different person. He went to that extreme level. And again, I don't know what happened in that room with them. For all I know, Joey could have done, like, who knows? But the way that the documentary was skewed, it definitely, for like Stacey, myself, probably you, John, it was definitely like Jeff was the mastermind. He went ballistic. He murdered. Joey, like Jeff came up with a plan, how we're going to do things. And Joey absolutely was a part of it. But it seemed like Jeff was the master.
Hammering the guy's knees was the worst part. I lived listening to because they couldn't fit him in the Rubbermaid. So they had to hammer his knees, his patella, so that they could bend his legs and squish him. Going through all that, you have to be on drugs. I mean,
and Jeff admitted that. Did Jeff admit? Jeff did on the witness stand. He admitted to doing that.
Jay said that we were going to wait till Home Depot or Lowe's opened, go there, get a plastic tub, get some lime.
Joey was worried that it might start to smell, and I suggested sprinkling lime.
I didn't even know what the hell lime was, but he's familiar with it from gardening and from some movie where it's used to cover up the smell of decaying bodies.
We got some type of cordage, some type of rope, something to help, close the box that he was going to be put in.
Jamie's body had gone into rigor mortis, and I held the body. He sledgehammered Jamie's kneecaps.
Joey hit him with a sledgehammer so that the bones broke. And I guess the muscles relaxed and moved, whatever, and he was put into the container. I don't remember it being a particularly difficult task.
Jeffrey's testimony from trial 1, it did paint him in more of an accurate light. He was cold, self-serving, and calculating.
How about his statement? That it was surprisingly easy to do.
Yeah, what was that? Surprisingly easy.
And on the stand, on the stand in court, he goes, it was surprising as you both pointed out, with very little affect.
Very disconnected. And Joey seemed like the emotional one, and he seemed like the. And I'm not saying Joey didn't have a part in the depravity of the situation or the drugs, but it fed off of each other. And I think ultimately, allegedly, in my opinion, that it was Jeff.
Well, all this murder talk is really making me hungry for a bagel. I'm not gonna lie. I have to eat some lunch.
Hungry.
Sorry, team. I ate all the bagels in the green room.
Okay, Dori. I was gonna say I am so hungry right now, and I can't believe I'm hungry after talking about urinating on people and then smacking balls and whatever. And and somebody shitting outside and running around naked. And I could use a big bowl of salad.
Meth is supposed to make us thin, I thought. It's only making me hungry.
Yeah, I'm just hungry. Where's the meth?
Because we're not into drugs and we're normal. That's
one more thing. Yes. I expected more drag queens, and I didn't see any, except for that one drag queen who was interviewed, and then Jamie was a drag queen. But it looks like these guys weren't drag queens. Okay, and then we'll go and eat.
But Jamie, the victim, was a drag queen.
Yes, he was the drag queen.
I thought it was a very interesting when they were interviewing that ginormous friend he had, the big, ginormous
drag queen
fella, that said, well, I met him in a salon, and this beautiful woman comes in, and I was hitting on this beautiful woman, and it turns out it was Jamie Carroll in drag. And then you saw pictures of Jamie Carroll. I don't know about both of you, but I didn't think he was a beautiful woman.
I know he was much of a looker.
Listen, I know a lot of drag queens, and they're beautiful. Okay, I know a lot of drag queens.
But back in the day, though, think about this. This was a million years ago.
A million.
Like, you look at a photo of myself back in the day, you're like, oh, that Dori, she's
Did you ever do drag, Dori?
Somebody said she was attractive. Oh, Can I say one thing, a pet peeve?
Yes.
John, I'm going to call you out.
Uh-oh.
I don't like, it's a pet peeve, when people combine words like gigantic and enormous. Ginormous.
Interesting.
I can't stand it.
Why are you calling me out? I never said that, did I?
You said ginormous about a minute ago.
I combine all words. That's not
Jeremy.
I have many pet peeves. That is not
Jeremy,
one.
do
That's
not edit this out. Do not edit this out.
No,
I
save
want
it
John
for our
to
pet
face
peeve.
the music.
No, save it for our pet peeve.
John, I'm being silly.
I'm so embarrassed
but,
now.
You know, amaze balls.
Oh, I love amazeballs. I use amazeballs all the time. I'm gonna pet peeve you, Stacey, for years and years to come.
Thank you, Dori. Because I was just going to say, I'm never giving up ginormous. I like ginormous.
And I'm never giving up amazeballs. That's my jam. Like, I say that all the time.
You know what?
All right.
Do
I think we're going down a
you.
road. I really need that meth bagel. I'm not gonna lie. I'm hungry.
Let's go get a salad, Dori.
I'll join you.
Thank you to everyone for listening. Make sure that you catch our next episode, Jared from Subway, Catching a Monster. Our theme music is written and performed by Midnight Current, and you can hear more from them on SoundCloud. Please visit podcandypodcast.com to learn more about us and listen to all of our episodes, or on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks so much.
If you love our podcast, consider donating any amount to buymeacoffee.com/podcandy. Every bit helps us keep creating the true crime, cult, and pop culture stories you can't stop listening to.
So people can buy us a cup of coffee?
Pod Candy.